Hello, everybody. Welcome to A Short History, and today I will be. Blah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new series that I'm starting. This is a bit of a defer from my normal content, and this is going to be recorded a lot, and it's going to end up being like an hour long. I can already tell. It's going to be a while before, I'm recording this just for the record on the first. I mean, not the first, the 23rd of uh January 2024. I don't know why I said the year. It's probably still going to come out within the year. Don't worry. But anyway, welcome to the new series, A Quick History. Now, this is a bit of a defer from my usual gaming content, so don't worry if you're a bit confused about, what. Shut up. Sorry, I'm getting something ready for, the thing. If you're if you don't want to watch it, that's fine. You don't want to watch my, dingus stuff. But anyway, let's start with part 1. The beginning. So for the beginning of this, I am going to be just using the original Super Mario Bros. Stuff, so that way, and then we'll continue. So, in the beginning, Nintendo started out as a card playing company. Yes, a playing card company. And, well, they sold playing cards. And this was all the way back in, I'm pretty sure, the 1890s, like a really long time ago. Almost 100 years before what we know for today, the games came out. I mean, it's just insane to me. And yeah, I get it, Nintendo's stinky now, but Nintendo single-handedly saved the gaming market back then, and I mean, it's just insane. So, with that being said, let's keep going. So, the, playing card business continued for a bit until, just things started to slow down in the early 1900s with World War One and everything, and the depressions of most of the world, everything kind of slowed down for Nintendo. I mean, the playing card industry was still going strong, but it's not play cards like you would think in. Sorry, I'm brain farting here. Uh, is that play cards like you would think? Yeah, I can't talk today. Sorry, I have a bit of a cold. So is that play cards like you would think? If you're from the U.S. or really anything, this is considered Western culture cards. Their cards are a lot different, and I cannot figure them out for the life of me. So yeah. So Nintendo was founded in 1899 as 1889 as Nintendo Kopai by a craftsman named Fuyuhiro Yumachachi. I probably butchered that name. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I butchered that name. But yeah. So they actually kept making cards up until about World War II. Like they lived to see the end of slavery in most of the world. The First World War, and my great grandfather being born. So that's the card business. And the first Western style deck. I'm also kind of like looking at the Wikipedia article just to make sure I don't accidentally mess up anything. I'm not butchering it. I'm not well, I can't. I'm not just copying what it says. So their first real Western style card deck, or as we would just know it here in the U.S., like a normal card deck, did not come out until 1902. Nearly uh 40 years after the company's original debut as the Japanese card playing company. And it's, you know, it's basically just that. And yeah. Yeah, it was basically just a playing card business up until around 1950 when the um second they changed at some point. The guy changed. Shut up. I don't want the history, all of it. All right. So, okay, so we're just gonna like speed through this next part. So, basically, playing card business was dying in Japan. Again, Western cards like we know them. I mean, they were just kind of they were seen as gambling cards here. I mean, not here, in Japan, and well, then Japan culture just kind of crashed, and well, things kind of did get bad for Nintendo. It gotten to the point where the next part I'm about to say is a bit controversial. I cannot find that many sources online about it, so please correct me if I'm wrong in this next part. Viewer discretion is advised as this part contains adult themes. I will put a timestamp in right now for each part. It's that in the description and right here on screen if you want to skip this part. Again, this is something that I don't know if it's true. It might not be. So, let's get on it. So sometimes in the 50s, Nintendo apparently, again, take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. I could be completely wrong on this. Nintendo owned a hotel and taxi company. The hotels were just called Love Hotels, which we'll get to in a minute why they're called that. And then the playing card, not the playing card, and the taxi company was just called Nintendo Taxis. They worked for not the mob, what is it, the Iwasaki? Again, like, just forgive me if I'm butchering these names. I do not speak Japanese whatsoever. Basically, they were in affiliates with the Japanese variation of the mafia or mob or whatever you want to call it. And these love hotels were so these mobsters or gangsters, whatever you want to call them, go to these hotels, take the taxis, so they would already be making money, go to the hotels with their girlfriends, and this next part is what the internet's for, so I'm not even gonna say it. If you want to figure out more, go to the internet. I'm sure they have more. But I think you get the basic gist of it. You know, they would go to these hotels and use the taxi service, meaning Nintendo made lots of money off it. Because if they were using Nintendo's taxis and going to Nintendo's hotels, it would mean Nintendo would make so much money off of it, it would be insane. And from what I can find, again, this is like this could be completely false, so don't believe me. Mm, Apparently it was, and that is and a lot of the money from that actually apparently, again, this next part I pretty much know it's probably not true, but I'm gonna say it anyway, helped kickstart Nintendo into the 60s and 70s. So, yeah. Alright. So, yeah. In 1969, Nintendo had not the play card. As I said before, the play card business, it's done. They couldn't compete with Western culture, and well, everyone just kind of left it. Nintendo was struggling to make money as it was. I mean, again, like I just said with that bit before, I mean, it may have lasted them, I don't know, but yeah. So Nintendo, they were struggling to make money, so they did toys, ironically, and basically they just kind of remanufactured old games like chess, Shogai, and Go, and Mahjong, and other foreign games under their brand. You know, and of course they did make a couple more playing cards, but again, these were Western culture cards. So, I mean, as it was just not that it was just kind of, it was something else. Anyway. Toad, shut up, Toad. I'm getting distracted by the video. And in 1970, the company's stock was promoted to the first section of the Osaka Stock Exchange. And finally, the reconstruction and enlargement of its headquarters were finished. Nintendo was back. Like, really back this time. They were sure of it. They were sure nothing could stop them, that they finally found their thing. Toys. How wrong they were. 1973. The early video games. Now, I'm going to go on a quick tangent to give you a history of video games. That'll be an entirely different own dedicated video in the series. Don't worry. So, a history in video games. Real quick. Video games back in the day, not back in the day, back when my dad was a kid, they weren't seen as they were seen today. They were seen as the reason for mass school shootings. Of course, that's not true. Probably not. Anyway. So, yeah. Basically, Nintendo made made a couple arcade cabinets before they made their first technical home console, the Color TV game. Um, yeah. Their first ever game ever was a skeet shooting arcade called Wild Gunman, consisting of a 16mm image projector with a sensor that detects a beam from the player's light gun, aka just basically flashlight and a gun. It's cool. So basically, yeah, Atari. Atari, Atari was the giant. If you tried to go against Atari, you were dead. You couldn't make it. Then something happened. We all remember E.T., right? E.T., a strange movie that I've watched once. My mom hates it. I don't know why. Apparently she watched it when she was young or something. But that's not the point. Back when the movie came out, a team at Atari was hired to make a game for it. And I know you're saying, oh, well, that shouldn't have been a problem. I mean, they're just making a game, right? It wouldn't have been a problem if they hadn't given them almost a 4-week notice from when the game needed to be released that they needed to make this game. Yeah. That's like telling me, oh, you have 20 minutes to film, edit, and post a video. And for me, I would be like, well, then I just won't do it. Too bad. And yeah. So, of course, with that, the game got made. It did, which was surprising. And I know you've probably heard this part 1,000 times. The game flopped massively. So bigly that people considered video games to be dead. This is known as video game crash of whatever. I forget the name. I forgot the years, like in the 80s or something. I'm pretty sure. Maybe the 70s. But yeah. Arcades were dying out too by the rapids due to the fact that home arcades had taken over for a bit. But yeah. So it's definitely something that kind of affected this. Nintendo, seeing this, said, "Oh my god, we need to cash in on the video game, right? We need to cash in on this industry." And they put out like a good amount of arcade games. I'm just sort of speedrunning the non-video game part because I don't know much about it. Anyway, so Nintendo worked and worked and worked through the video game crash of the 1980, and finally came up with something. Game and Watch. Game and Watch. I don't know the entire jingle. Game and Watch. Catchy, right? I thought so. Here, I can pull it up for you if you just give me a second. The Famicom? What the hell is this? Oh, the Famicom. How could we forget it? So, I know you're probably saying, what the hell's a Famicom? It's a computer. And you're saying, but that's not a system. That's a family computer. Ugh. I know. That is what it was called in Japan. Why? I have no idea. But I am pretty sure that it was because that again, people just still had like that negative view on video games. And I think it'd be called a family computer and not the video game system. But more it showed it catered towards everyone, not just you know your not just you, or it was the families. Now, of course, unless you were in Japan or happened to get a imported one from in the US, you've probably heard of this thing. But that's not what you're here for. May I introduce to you the Nintendo Entertainment System, or as we all love to call it, the NES. This thing, I know the graphics like this, but back then this was game changing. 8-bit, this hadn't been done before. I mean, it was just insane to people how a random card company from Japan can make this. But yeah, they did. And it is known as one of the greatest things to happen to the gaming industry ever. Of course, it came with no price. Oh, yes, it did. 100 yen was for the Famicom in Japan. It was around $150 here in the US. So, yeah, pretty good. Especially since $150 with that money, I could buy a used Wii with nothing. So, yeah, I gotta say, that's pretty good. So, yeah, that's that. And now, we gotta move on a bit more. We gotta skip to opening day. The day that this released, not a lot of people really knew what it was. It came with this guy called Rob. I'll put him up on screen right now, and a game called Duck Hunt that needed this gun. Well, Nintendo wasn't really helping their chances. Parents said, "Oh my god, it's violent." But then the kids said, "Oh my god, it's the Red Man." Yeah, the Italian plumber was an instant hit with kids. I'm sure. And Mario, as we know him today, he didn't even look like that. As you see right now, he has the guy that's playing this. I just had it without commentary going. Has a flower power up right now, so that means you're not seeing the original Mario. I'll put it up screen here. Instead of red, he has brown. What? This isn't right. This is Mario. See, look at him. I mean, not instead of red. Instead of blue, he has brown. But that doesn't make sense. Mario has always had blue and red, right? No, that did happen till Super Mario World, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, there was also another person here that allowed for 2 players, Luigi. And the Italian brothers took the world by storm. You could go pretty much anywhere with an NES in the 80s and ask, "Hey, want to play Super Mario Bros?" And the answer would immediately probably be, yeah. Again, I can't really say much about that because I wasn't born in the 80s. I was born in the 2010s. But I have my dad who had an NES, and, that's pretty good enough, I think. Now, we're entering a bit of a different time for Nintendo. Nintendo, seeing all the success, was amazed at how good this thing did. I mean, it was just insane to them. So, they immediately got to work on the greatest sequel of all time, other than Shrek 2. The Super NES. Or SNES. Now, this thing had a 16-bit processor. It was insane. People were losing their collective minds. Tons of new games, and a new modified controller with shoulder buttons. Huh. And 4 buttons instead of just the casual 2 from last time. But someone else from Japan decided to rear their face. With that comes the greatest rivalry ever, other than Jedi and Sith. Anyway, I know I keep saying this and that, but anyway. A small company from Japan called Sega, who had already been in the video game making, saw Nintendo's success and decided, I want to try that. Enter the Blue Hedgehog. He was just made to compete with Mario, but made to be a bit more edgy, a bit more, well, a bit more teenage, if you ask me. So with that, Nintendo's greatest competitor ever was born, Sega. And of course, Nintendo did eventually win this war with the console units sold, and it was the very earliest form of the console wars, really. I mean, no one competed with Atari. You can't compete with Atari. Of course, people did, and lost miserably, but that's not the point. There was something else, though, that Nintendo had cooking up that was absolutely insane. This is Super Mario Land for the Game Boy. Now, I know you're saying, oh my god, what a downgrade from the NES and the SNES. This. But you have to remember, this was the first time anyone had done something like that. I mean, no one had seen a portable thing, something that fits in your pocket. Mind-blowing. I mean, come on. But of course, There also people that didn't like it, saying, "Oh, what a downgrade!" But then were the people that also defended this thing with their life. Me personally, I was somewhere in the middle. I like it. It's great, and the Game Boy is really cool. I prefer the color, but we'll get to that part later. The Game Boy, of course, is known as one of the highest selling consoles of all time, the highest selling handheld ever, almost being outsold by the PSP, but easily reclaiming the title. Now, yeah. So, with that being said, what's next? Well, I mean, like, how is Nintendo going to outdo themselves? Well, with a nearly 10-year long nap. Well, not 10-year, but about that and almost 10 years later, we got, in my personal opinion, one of the greatest gaming machines of all time. Well, not the greatest, but still. Super Mario 64. Holy crap. People were losing again minds. Nintendo, you gotta stop. People will have many brain cells left. Thanks to you, I have 2. Oh. Anyways, that's a more visual skip, but still. So, why were people losing their minds at this? It was simply because of one thing. 3D graphics. No one had seen it before. Sega tried to keep up with the Dreamcast. And the Dreamcast, for its time, was seen as horrible. Me personally, I actually really like the Dreamcast. I think it's an interesting console. But you're not here for my opinion. You're here for the history, aren't you? Now, the Nintendo 64 released in 1996 with you're not gonna believe this, 4 games. I kind of wish I was kidding. It wasn't. It was bundled with Mario 64, and later on, if you were lucky, you would sometimes get Mario Kart 64. But yeah, yeah. So it's basically, yeah, it's just that. It's the N64. In my personal opinion, like a really great game. A lot of really great games released on this console, but I think it just didn't have that great a launch. At launch, people played all the games and wondered, "Oh, that was cool. Why now?" But yeah. So with that, uh, Sega thought, "Oh, I must get the upper hand," and they did. Like, I am going to have a separate video on Sega because they were so cool. And I love Sega so much. But Nintendo, now feeling a bit intimidated, made a couple of deals to get 2 of the coolest games on the N64 ever to get on there. They didn't have it for a while, so I will get to that in a bit. Next, let's go to Super Mario Bros. Deluxe for none other the Game Boy Color. Now, people were already blown away by the Game Boy and the Game Boy Micro, which I forgot to mention, but that's fine. It was basically just the Game Boy, but smaller. And about the same power. So yeah. Obviously, people thought, oh, well, Nintendo can't top themselves at all with it. Until Nintendo came out with the Game Boy Color. And if you've played a Game Boy Color, you can confirm this thing was basically an NES in your pocket. It was insane to people how they could just smash it down so small and it looked like the NES. It was just insane to people. And I would have lost my mind too if I if let's say my NES broke, my dad said, "Oh, okay, we'll go out and get you a Game Boy." I'm like, "Oh, okay, but it's gonna be a little bit less powerful." Whoa! Ambulance, call it now! And they came back with a Game Boy that is basically just my NES, but in my hands. It's insane. And just from a bit of perspective, I have an iPhone 12. 11. That thing is about the same size. A bit chunkier, but you get the gist. And yeah, I mean, people were just going insane, and Nintendo was loving it. Nintendo was rolling in dough, and people were now saying Nintendo single-handedly saved the gaming industry. And they were right. Nintendo did. So what happened? Now, it is extremely disputed on this next chapter where the fall off of Nintendo began to happen. Me personally, I believe it did not happen with Cocker, but I'm putting it up now as I talk about the beginning. Ooh, in case you don't know, Cocker's Bad Fur Day was a game for the N64 that was released for that was released by third party that made Banjo-Kazooie. Very drastic, if you ask me. And other than Doom 64, it was probably the only M-rated game on the N64. Yeah. As you see right there, it was made by Ravenware. So, yeah. No, oh, shut up. Uh, shut up. Dingus. I'll put, uh, the stuff from all of these guys in the bottom, so that way you can go check their stuff out. So, basically, what happened was Nintendo 64 was promised an add-on that would add CDs. And that never came out. But there was a new competitor entering the ring. One that it's now known as probably, in my personal opinion, shut up! I don't want to watch your Madagascar 2 series. Sorry. String milk. Where was I? Oh, yes, as one of the best consoles of all time, in my personal opinion. The PlayStation. PlayStation was new to this. Mainly because they were owned by Sony, who back then made VCRs and cameras. And on occasion, TVs. So, what happened? Why did they make a gaming console? To this day, I don't know. And that'll probably be in my PlayStation video about everything. But Sony released the PlayStation. And people were losing their minds over that one too, because it had better graphics. Like, much better. Not much better. I will admit, I don't care. Watch more That's not SpongeBob! Yeah. So, yeah, I think that was the reason why Nintendo started to fall off. More competitors entering. But then came the heavy hit of. Sorry, this is a new recording session that you're listening to. I did all the other recordings in a single sitting, and this is a new sitting. So if I sound a bit different or I sound a bit sicker or something like that, that's because a different sitting, just so you know. Anyway, as you can see by screen, probably the chapter number, we're talking about the GameCube. And I know, this is the downfall of Nintendo. It is. Now, the GameCube wasn't bad by any means. It was great. But it just kind of felt eh. Hold on, I'm gonna turn down my mic because you can hear my background and the noises in the background of my house. So, why is that? Well, probably because of E3. I mean, hell, if you knew about that E3 or were there, you would know. The original Xbox was revealed. The PlayStation 2, the best-selling console of all time, was revealed there. And then you had the GameCube with these tiny discs that were supposed to be like, ooh, non-piracy. Even though I'm pretty sure the GameCube has the most pirated games of all time. I could be wrong, so don't reference me on that. It is, I'm pretty sure, the worst-selling Nintendo console next to the Game Boy Advance Micro, I'm pretty sure. Let me just make sure. But, yeah. So, I think you can see where I'm about to say this. It's like, uh, it's kinda... Sorry, I'm just, like, spacing out. Okay, so I was wrong. It's not. But we'll get to the thing that is later. Okay, so, but, GameCube was, the time was Nintendo's worst selling console, and this scared them. I mean, like, who wouldn't? They were scared of the fact that they wouldn't be this gaming giant anymore. But I feel like it was at this time Nintendo started to realize they didn't need to be the highest powered or the most reputable company, which is why they have their new motto, which is they don't focus on graphics or gameplay. They focus on fun. They don't need it to be this big, extravagant, open world RPG that like needs 30 graphics cards in order to play. They just need it to be fun for a family. And I feel like that started happening with the GameCube. Now, the GameCube, in my personal opinion, is one of the best Nintendo consoles, other than, the one we'll get to next. But there was something else that was revealed at this E3. Was it the Game Boy Advanced? Yes, kind of. Hold on, let me pull it up. Now, the other thing that was revealed at E3 2001 was insane. Now, I know you're saying, the Virtual Boy? I don't know when the Virtual Boy revealed. I don't know. I'm not a weirdo. No, I'm talking about the Game Boy Advance. Now, this thing, people were already excited about. I mean, like, another Game Boy? Wow, I remember this thing. My kids can play it now. But then, it was more or less the fact that it was more like a handheld SNES now. And it was just insane to people how they could keep making it so their older consoles were just downsized into their hands. It's insane. Alright, sorry for the cut. I had to go use the bathroom and try to get myself undigested, but that's fine. Now, I was talking about the Game Boy Advance, but as I was saying, people were just finding it insane that they were basically holding an SNES. Only thing that could make it better was a backlight. Nintendo said, let's give it a backlight. And so the other thing was born. The better version of the Game Boy, and the final Game Boy. No, the Virtual Boy is not a Game Boy. It's the real boy. It's not. The Game Boy SP. It has a backlight. It was more comfortable to hold, less chunky, and just overall a better system. I personally, when looking into Game Boys to buy, I would think about the SP first, but at the same time, I also do kind of want to own a color and just give it a backlight. But hey, who knows? But yeah, I mean, it's just insane how, that's just insane to me. But then it happened. The PS2 launched around the same time as the Game Boy, and it just knocked it out of the water. I'm sorry. People looked at it and said, holy shit. Like, yeah, the Game Boy looks great, and I will admit, I actually really like the Game Boy's graphics. It is a huge step up from the, not the GBA. It's a huge step up from their previous console, the, what's it called? Always forget the name. The, N64, sorry. And, I just kind of feel like that it was just like that. That was it. That was what it was. The it was the it had better graphics and that was about it. Yeah, cool. Super Mario Sunshine and Galaxy were on it. I get it. Those are really great games. As you can see, I'm using one of them for my background gameplay as I'm talking, but the PS2, it was just better. I mean, people didn't want to work on Game Boy hardware on a GameCube hardware. Like, sure, it was more powerful at times, but it was harder to work with. The discs were too small to fit all of their games on. And if I wanted to play a game like Battlefront on a handheld, the PSP was the way to go. Oh, just honestly, a game like Battlefront, Star Wars ones, would be a PlayStation thing. But that wasn't really it. What really it was is that the fact that the Xbox also happened, and people were more interested in it. It was the most powerful launch console of all time. Probably because Microsoft fucking waited until no fucking I said frickin' waited until when they waited until the very last moment of hardware history to join in and then be called one of the best ones ever, even though, in my personal opinion, the Xbox now sucks. Now, Nintendo seeing this was like, oh my god, what are we gonna do? And they did something. They definitely did something here. So Nintendo was cooking up some things, and they were things. I mean, I'm about to talk about my personal favorite console of all time. But before we get to that part, we have to say real quick. I know I've been mentioning the Virtual Boy a lot. I am skipping over it completely. I understand it released before the Wii, and I keep just being like, oh, it's stupid. It is. I don't count it as a real, console. It barely sold any units. I mean, it wasn't that great. But yeah. So, with that being said, we will not be speaking of the Virtual Boy or anything like that. So don't ask at all. I'm not going to say anything. So, oh yeah. After the Game Boy Advance came something that a lot of people don't know about. It's called the Pokemon Mini. I didn't know about this until researching for this video. It's in November 2001, Nintendo introduced the Pokemon Mini. I'm just reading off the Wikipedia article because I didn't know this existed until reading off the list real quick right before this session because I don't know all of the consoles and the release dates. I just want to make sure I don't accidentally mix anything up. And it was basically just a crappy Game Boy themed around Pokemon with $15 games and the console itself costing $45. It was so poor or that I didn't know it existed. And it was sold in Whopper Blue, Chiricota Green, Sploosh Beat Purple. Every console was bundled with the game Pokemon Party Mini. The system was only released in North America, Japan, and Europe, seeing no further release in other regions. Now, this is the big stuff, okay? Nintendo released something that I love. This is the thing I said that is my favorite console of all time. Although it's a great console, that's what I'm about to say. The Nintendo DS. The DS is so good. I know you could argue, oh, the 3DS is better or something like that. No. For its time, the DS was insane. It was competing with the PSP. And I have to say, like, well, yes, I understand the PSP, again, did outsell the DS. In my personal opinion, coming from someone who loves PlayStation with a passion, the DS was better and deserved to get the more sales in this race. I mean, come on, just look at this thing. It's beautiful. It is the peak human evolution. And, all right, quick fillers is about a halfway point for the video. Welcome, sister.
And today I'm going to be reading you ChatGPT, who made me an episode of the Owl House. Okay. Liz and Amity are collaborating on a magical experience surrounding by various ingredients and a spell book. Their chemistry is unparalleled both in magic and emotions. Luke's excited. Okay, Amity, let's try this. Enchant and ready. Amity nervous, ready as I'll ever be. They perform a spell, bursting into colorful magic, envelops the kitchen. Suddenly, the room shakes, and a magical portal opens, revealing Lilith and Ida. Lilith smiles. Well, what do we have here?
Yep, and we're gonna stop recording for a minute. So when we come back, I'll be back talking about Nintendo stuff while she's telling me the rest of this crackhead theory. Oh my god, the DS! Like, if you whip this thing out on a train, you would have kids crying around you. I don't know that though, because I wasn't alive then. I will do like an age reveal later on. But holy crap, was this thing good? My friend had a DS Lite. It accidentally got water damaged. We've been looking to get a new battery or something for it, or just fix it overall. But yeah, of course and fun fact, did you know the DS in Nintendo DS stood for Nintendo Dual Screen? Nintendo, do better. Yeah. It also stands for Developer Screen, which is cool. But anyway, now now that we're done with the DS, we gotta get to the next non-handheld console. That's right, we're talking about the Wii. Oh my god, I love the Wii. just playing Wii Sports or just any other game on it. It was so good. I would honestly buy a Wii still just to play it. I mean, I'm not talking about all the variations of the Wii, of course, because there's a couple. But the Wii is just so good. Released in 2006. This thing was, although it sold really well, I have to admit, it was underpowered. I do have a PS3. You can't see it because I don't have a face cam or anything, but I have a PS3 behind me. I'm playing the homebrew. We'll do that for a handheld video where I don't have that intro thing where you can tell it was filmed on my phone crappily. But more or less, it was going up against the PS3 and the Xbox 360. Xbox was determined to win, and then the Red Ring happened. Then there was Nintendo with the Wii, and the Wii was good. But then you had PlayStation with this PS3. I mean, yeah, it was a chonker, but then they released the Slim, and everyone had one. My friend has like four of these things. I have the Slim, of course, because I'm just better. But yeah, I mean, it's just that good that people could just that yeah. But the Wii was different. It was like this. Basically, it wasn't really a gaming controller. I mean, of course it was. They're called Wiimotes. They're like TV remotes. It's weird. And of course, this was so that way they could do motion games like this, which of course led to the Switch Joy-Cons, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I mean, the Wii was just insane. But again, this was where not PlayStation, sorry, Nintendo came out with their new fact, which was the Wii is something that's not meant for hardcore gamers. It's meant for fun. It's meant for the casual audience and people who are new to games. It's not meant anymore for these hardcore fans that are spending thousands upon thousands of dollars on these games. It's meant for the families at home who are middle class and want to, have something easy. And yeah, it was great, especially coming from a kid who was in the middle class. And we had one of these things. Of course, you know the meme. You either have either your parents stayed together or you had a Wii. I did have a Wii for a short time, and then we got rid of the Wii. I love the Wii, but I love my parents' marriage more. Um, but yeah. Of course, this introduced the Renaissance era of Nintendo. Almost like yeah, last time was the downfall, and this was kind of like the last big thing before Nintendo's worst thing ever, which was of course the GameCube. I mean, not the GameCube. The GameCube was the best. The Wii U. We'll talk about that later, though. Don't worry. But yeah, the Wii had internet-capable features, which basically just meant this was the beginning of the Nintendo eStore. Of course, brought us this bop. Okay, that's just amazing. But yeah, of course, the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection, or as we now know it as Switch Online, it allowed you to play online multiplayer games with your friends on different Wii's. I mean, this was insane. Of course, PlayStation was doing the too, and so was the 360. But Nintendo just had that special spin to it. I guess I don't know. Of course, the Wii Shop channel, as you know it, is amazing. It's the greatest. And of course, we have something that I miss dearly, the Virtual Console. A selection of classic games emulated from their older console. This was a hit with people, and it actually made its way up until the Switch, which unfortunately does not support Virtual Console games, which sucks, because Virtual Console is amazing, and we really should have gotten it on the Switch. And the Wii brought in a lot of money. In 2007, Wall Street Journals declared Nintendo has become the company to beat in the game business. Again. Nintendo was happy and was now going and doing other things. They were excited. They were saying, we could do it. We could do a lot of things here. And it was saying that the Wii and the DS were bringing back Nintendo. And they were, really. They were saving Nintendo from a death. And really, it saved them a lot. So, what happened? Why am I saying, oh, this is like the beginning of the end for Nintendo? Well, you'll see in the next segment. Well, I probably just blame this. Every concept probably going to be a different segment, and which means it's just like the Wii era. But yeah, I mean, it is just insane. And as of March 31st, 2016, the Wii sold 101.63 million consoles worldwide. And it got a new release during quarantine. I kind of wish I was kidding. It did. The Wii was just this thing. And really, the Wii, if Nintendo hadn't literally needed to stop making them to keep moving up in the gaming market, we would still be able to go out to Walmart and buy a Wii. And I'm kind of sad that Nintendo doesn't just bring them back as this nice little low budget console that a middle class family could use. But yeah. And of course, we got Wii Sports, which was used to beta test the Wii Remote, which came with the console, along with, in certain cases, Mario Kart Wii. The Zelda shooting game, I forgot what it's called, like Link's Crossbow Adventure or something. On occasion, Skyward Sword, which, fun fact, was mirrored from the GameCube version to make it so that way people would, relate to Link more since he's left-handed. And yeah, so now we gotta go to the Nintendo 3DS. Now, the 3DS, I'm just gonna leave up the Wii gameplay for this, mainly because I don't feel like switching it every time I go into a new chapter. And even though this is still the Wii era, don't worry. The 3DS. Holy crap, the 3DS. Everyone loves the 3DS. The 3DS released in 2011, and, holy crap. So, the 3DS basically was just an overpowered DS. It has 3D capabilities, Tomodachi Life, which in itself would just be a seller, and basically, yeah. It was released on February 26, 2011, and it contains 3 cameras! 2 on the outside for 3D photographs, and the internal one above the top screen. The bottom screen is touchscreen, of course, comparable to the DS bottom screens. And of course, like that, blah, 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 blah. You know the rest. But the DS was great. But the only thing people complained about was eye strain. Which is why, of course, they had the 3D slide, but people said, oh, it looks ugly. I like complaining. So Nintendo made the 2DS. The most ugly, disgusting thing on the planet. Holy crap. Of course, it had a C-Stick, a ZR and ZL Soldier button, and a faster CPU, allowing for more software specifically for the new Nintendo 3DS, which is a great console. Like the original 3DS, the new Nintendo also has an XL form. As of December 13th, 2013, Nintendo has sold 42.74 million units, including 15.21 million Nintendo 3DS XLs and other things. And the last handheld console in the DS family was the new Nintendo 2DS XL, which was released in June/July 2017 across 5 different countries. Production ceased on all Nintendo 3DS family systems on September 16th, 2020. So not that long ago, which is surprising. Now we gotta go into the newest eras. So, yeah. Well, the Nintendo Wii U. Now, as many people make it seem, the Wii U apparently was a thing from the trenches, a thing not to be reckoned with, a thing that was not even a console. You know, the Wii U was actually pretty good in my opinion. I have a friend down the street who owns a Wii U, and it's really fun to play on just casually. I mean, it's just a fun game. I mean, fun thing. But the reason it sold so well, I mean, sold so horribly, is because of bad advertising. A lot of people just thought this was an add-on for the Wii U, for the Wii, due to the fact just to be calling a Wii U. And the only thing being showed off in these ads was the gamepad, making it seem like, oh, the gamepad. It's just like this thing that adds onto the Wii U to make it so you can like take it around the house. That's cool. Of course, the distinguishing hardware feature, the gimmick, was the game had a tablet-like controller which contains that touchscreen. And of course, it was basically like a almost Bluetooth phone, which someone modded their iPhone to be able to just work as a gamepad, and honestly, with a backbone, and honestly, it was pretty cool. And the Wii U captured those joysticks perfectly. Just the way they're up top, out of the way of the buttons, is just so great. But of course, I do like the PlayStation one's better that are down low. I just feel like it feels better in my hand. But yeah. And of course, the Wii U, in my personal opinion, was the console for multiplayer. You get a couple of the you get a couple of those pro controllers, which are only like $30 at GameStop, and bam, you got yourself a good time. And even then, you could have like four people playing multiplayer on the screen, and then a fifth playing it on the gamepad. It was just overall really good. But of course, it didn't sell well. People, again, thought it was just like this add-on to the thing. Alongside the game had the Wii U also supported the Wii controllers, the games, meaning that, yeah, you could actually just use your old Wii controllers for this. You didn't have to go out and buy those sticky old pro controllers. But yeah. And of course it's that pro controller that I mentioned earlier, like 3 times. It's the Wii U Pro controller, which is basically just the gamepad, but without that touchscreen. Which is why a lot more people recommend that one for games like Minecraft or, as you see on the screen right now, Splatoon. Of course, the Wii U's focused heavily on the online functionality more than the Wii. Using the Nintendo Network, no, it's Nintendo Switch Online, and as with the Wii, it supports the online multiplayer, downloading, purchasing new games and apps, but also allows video chat, which I didn't know that one. Um, so basically, FaceTime with Nintendo. We definitely are listening. And of course, the Miiverse, which I know little to nothing about because I never had a Wii U. My friend did, but yeah. And then Nintendo also attempted to provide second screen experience for television programming for the Wii U through its feature known as the Nintendo TVII, but it was discontinued outside of Japan in August 2015, right before the Switch's launch. Right before the Switch's launch. Unlike the Wii U, unlike the Wii U is capable of those HD graphics the Wii just couldn't handle. This thing was basically just a PS3 but shitty. The Wii U was met with this like not that great thing. And this was, of course, attributed to the Nintendo executives that decided we don't need third-party games for our consoles to be good. Yes, you do. But yeah. But coming out on trying to come out on top versus PlayStation, Xbox was a really hard task. The PlayStation 4, my first ever console, well, not my first ever was the PS3, of course. My first real console that I played on consistently, it was just better in every way. I mean, you could get so much more. I people argued, oh, well, it has a less expensive price tag. That comes with less games, crappier hardware, and most of all, not that much third-party support. But yeah. Of course, it has those nice little things for the that we know now as the only good releases for this game. But I'm not going to mention those right now. And of course, the new franchise, one of my favorite Nintendo IPs, Splatoon, as you see on the screen. January 2017, a Nintendo person said the production of the console had ended with just 13.56 million units sold worldwide, making it the worst selling console ever. Of course, with that being said, it was really just sad to see this. A lot of people started saying it's the end for Nintendo. This is the dark ages. PlayStation and Xbox had overpowered them. Nintendo had lasted for so long. Were they really gonna let this happen? And yeah. A lot of people really did think here Nintendo was over. Nintendo was done. I mean, how could you bounce back from something like that and just casually be like, oh, that's that? But yet they did. With our next segment, I'm of course talking about Nintendo's newest console. Its current 8th gen, and Nintendo Switch. The Switch it's good. I have one. I was gonna do a whole video on it, but then I realized, oh wait, and no, literally said, oh wait, if you mod our systems, it's illegal, even though it's really not. You can do that. Just be careful. But they saw the Wii U and said, okay, it was a good console, it was a good idea, but bad execution. How can we make that better? And the Switch was the answer. Something like the Wii U with that handheld portion, almost feel like a tablet, but then it was able to go into the TV and play on the TV. Of course, you would do both at the same time, like you could with the Wii U, but hey. And the Switch, being an 8th generation, was not that great, but again, use that excuse. Well, it's not functionality, it's fun. It has that cool gimmick, right? And it does. While I would recommend playing Fortnite on it because you get 30 frames a second, um, you know, well, you got stuff like Breath of the Wild, which was my first Nintendo game I ever played other than Wii Sports. I wish I was kidding. And yeah, it was just like that. And really, people just kind of said, oh, what's this? And loved it. People eat this thing up, and I could easily go buy another one today. Only $300. Of course, the Joy-Cons were kind of like the Wii remotes. I had the sense that they had that motion capability, with means it's great for games like Just Dance or WarioWare. One of the Joy-Cons have an analog joystick for Amiibo and an IR sensor on the back. Holy crap, that's great. Now, of course, the Pro Controller is the of course go-to if you play like me and just play it consistently. I of course don't have a Pro Controller. I use the Joy-Cons like a real Nintendo boy. As of now, out or when this article that I read was written on Wikipedia, just to make sure I get all my sources right. Don't worry. This is as of February 3rd, 2022. The Switch has sold 100.53 million units as of February 3rd, 2022, outselling all of Nintendo's previous home consoles. It's insane. As well, outselling the Nintendo 3DS within its first 5 years of launch, making it the best-selling home console for Nintendo and third best-selling home console of all time. Of course, only being beaten by the what's it called? The PS2 and the other one. But of course, with that being said, it wasn't just a home console. It was something that you could pick up and bring with you everywhere. There. Even if you didn't want to play on the TV, you could still bring that HDMI cable or the dock. They're all compact enough that you could just put them in a backpack. Of course, the motion sensors and HD rumble with Nintendo's haptic vibration feedback system for improved gameplay. experiences were great. I love that personally. I think that dual haptic rumble is just really good for games like Breath of the Wild or a first person shooter that gets set you that like almost blowback, if you know what I said. Of course we have the Switch Lite, aka what I call the Nintendo Switch DS. It's because it's not dockable. It's not a Switch. It doesn't switch. The game, the Joy-Cons aren't detachable. There's no kickstand. It just, and it's a budget version. I get it, but it's not that great. I got ooh, pretty color. I don't care. I want to see funny Birdman on the TV. And of course, we have the final variation, which is now Nintendo's real variation of the Switch. The OLED was released in 2021, which makes a lot of adjustments and improvements over the original, including, oh my god, a new kickstand. I literally stole my sister's kickstand for a while until that one fell off my Switch. And of course, it has that nice 64 gigabytes instead of the regular 32 on the original Switch. And yeah, I think that about brings us to it. Now, there are some other things that, of course, I could mention here, but I'm not going to do that because bad, and I don't feel like it. Oh, yeah, and the Pokemon Plus, but we don't talk about the Pokemon Plus. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching a short history. My name is Shy Assassin. I will see you all in the next one. Bye!